You're listening to Bold Hearts, Big Moves, the show for female entrepreneurs who want it all: a thriving business, deep self-love, and fulfilling relationships. I'm Erin Anderson, and each week we will dive into how to set stronger boundaries, make empowered choices, and show up in life and business with boldness, authenticity, and heart. Because let's be real, the money you make is directly related to the love that you have for yourself and the strength of your relationships. So if you're ready to lead with love and make those big moves with those bold hearts, let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bold Hearts, Big Moves. Guys, when I say I get the best guests on this show, I am not joking. Like, oh my gosh, Jannette Anderson, the maturepreneur, let me just spit that one out. Maturepreneur, and I have been sitting here for the last 30 minutes, and we've had a couple of calls before then. Just getting to know Jannette has been a pure joy. We're sitting here chatting about my own business, and like she's pointing out things that I'm like, oh yeah, like yeah, this is yummy stuff. And so like, even though Jannette helps, entrepreneurs 50 and plus to be seen, heard, understood, valued, and appreciated for the contributions that they bring to this world, because let's be honest, entrepreneurs that are 50 and above are often looked at as incapable. And we get that as, I think, entrepreneurs in general, like we have felt that, right? We've aligned with that at some point. And so Jannette's coming in today to talk about our why, to expand our minds a little bit with our own businesses, because man, she has blown mine. I'll say that. And then also to bring it back to the boundary of who we truly are going to be and how we're going to show up in authenticity 100%. So, Jannette, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thanks, Aaron. And yeah, it's been so cool chatting with you about, God's intention in our life and how to move forward and how to all the things that we deal with as entrepreneurs. Because I think having a business is the best personal growth program you could ever take. There's nothing like being an entrepreneur to help you see all your crap right there.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
truly, truly. And, you're right. Like, I'm thinking about, you know, me before entrepreneur. And when I say that, I'm also acknowledging that I was not acknowledging at that time, like how much of an entrepreneur I was, but like how much entrepreneurship has balanced me as a mom, as a wife, as just even a homemaker
hmm
has been astounding,
Yeah.
right? It's insane.
It requires us to be resourceful, for one thing, and that affects other parts of our lives. Resilient, because there's lots of ups and downs and ins and outs and what we might see as rejection or so forth. And it also really calls us to step into why we care about things. Why are we doing what we're doing? Because when you get, confronted day to day with not making sales or things not working or, having the challenge of how do I pay my bills this month? You
Right.
better have a strong why to pull you forward to keep you in the game, or you're not gonna make it. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about making sure that people are clear on what is my purpose as an anchoring point for why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Because, not just because I'm going to go make some money. Well, honey, go get a job because that's easier.
A
The
lot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to make a difference and make money, you can do that in a job. But I think that entrepreneurship is one of the best ways to have impact and income. Personally, I'm very biased that way.
Well,
I've
no,
been
I
in since
agree.
I was 5. I think I came out of the womb with a briefcase, really, Aaron. Sure. My mom didn't appreciate it at all, let me tell you. So, Yeah.
Oh, oh, that gave me a mental image. Like,
I know,
okay,
right?
yeah, I'm sure she did not appreciate that birth. No, 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 no. But like, oh, I love that mental image. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to use that one. But like, here's the deal. Like, you're right. You are so right. Like every single time I've thought about like financial struggles. Like it's happened. I've been doing coaching for 15 years. Am I rich? No. Right?
Mhm.
Have I hit six figures in my business? I have hit it twice now. And it doesn't mean that I'm rich,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I didn't start this to become rich,
Yeah.
right? And here's the thing too, like I want to point out, like I think in a way, if that's our why, like to get rich, I
Mhm.
think that devalues what we do a bit.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's interesting. See, now I personally have a belief that we get told, and especially this might be controversial for you,
That's
but
okay. No, have at it. Have at
especially
it. I can handle it.
people
I'm
have
good.
religious people often have a belief that to want money, to have money, to aspire to money is not spiritual. And I think it's everything but that. I think it's highly spiritual to
It
want to
is.
be, do, and have abundance
Mm-hmm.
so that we can share it. I want to give you a little visual. I sometimes do this when I'm speaking. I have a big metal bowl on the floor, and I have a styrofoam cup, and I'm poking it with a pen, right, and putting holes in it, and then I take a big jug of water and I pour it in the cup, and it all the water kind of goes shooting out all over all the holes,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it dribbles into the bowl and some of it overflows into the bowl, but basically it's going everywhere. And I
Mm-hmm.
say, look, this is the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, pouring into us constantly, always. And our limiting beliefs and our stuff about money and so forth are us poking holes in the cup. And so it leaks and we never feel full. And the bowl, aka the world, never gets filled up with the nourishment and the water that we bring because it's not efficient. So the first thing is stop poking holes, stop,
I
with the
agree.
I can't and I shouldn't and I, etc. I'm not enough. Stop the not enough story. Get some damn duct tape, fix the cup, right? Plug the hole. Let it be filled up and let it overflow so that you can efficiently fill the world. And that overflow includes making a lot of money. That overflow
Yeah. Yeah.
includes having more than enough time, energy, love, heart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
I
that's the
completely agree.
everyone to kind of take away of both and. If,
Yes. No, I completely agree. So let me say this, because I think that maybe there was a little bit of a misunderstanding when I said that, okay? Because first, I completely believe that as Christian, if God is my father, then I have the ability to be like him. And that's a different Christian theology than a lot of Christianity has. And being a Latter-day Saint, that's actually one of the things that we get kind of slammed for is that theology. But the thing is if he is abundant,
yeah,
then that means I get to be too.
yeah,
Right? And he's not ashamed of that abundance. Everything in this world is his. He owns everything and he gives it to us to use for our benefit and our good. Yes, I completely believe that. Completely believe that. I subscribe to that. What
yeah,
I mean by that is when our only why
yeah,
is money,
yeah,
that's when it becomes devalued
yes,
because what ends up happening is we're not I've seen this, okay? In like when I've been on calls with people that have wanted to sell me something,
yeah,
and that's their only why is
yeah,
to get like so much money, and that's like they're trying to set this financial goal, which is fine,
yeah.
right? But that's the only goal.
Yeah. When you are a
Then
means to an end, then you don't feel like they're actually.
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's where it starts to devalue what we can actually do,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if our it like it there's nothing wrong with putting a dollar amount to what we say we want to do or what we want to make or what our services are valued at. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying like don't let that be the only way.
Absolutely. And it becomes very, when we get tied to something like that out external, whether it's money or a title or a role, then we have an identity crisis when that goes away. If
Mm,
we don't have a good month financially, or if we no longer are in that role, like I deal with a lot of older people, maturepreneurs, 55 plus, who are now going through a major identity crisis of who am I now if I'm not a CEO or I'm an accountant,
mm,
mom. But we never were our roles. I mean, we are our roles, but that's not our purpose in life. Our purpose in life is not what we do. It's why we do what we do.
exactly. I love
My
that.
my definition is a bit different than most people. I believe that our purpose, our why, is the intersection of what we're healing from the past and what we long for the future for
Yep.
ourselves and other people. What we're
Yes.
healing from the past and what we long for the future for ourselves and others. And whether you believe it's God-given or you chose it or it's your lesson this lifetime, whatever your framework is, that's fine. But when we know what that is, I think it's a thread that weaves through the tapestry of our life. It
Yes.
doesn't change. How we live into it and express it changes over time and different ages and stages.
Mm-hmm.
But our
And how it
why is
grows.
consistent, right?
Yeah, 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 exactly. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And I've even said that, like I've kind of broken it down into four main categories that, we call our why or our mission and purpose, right? Like why we're here. Why are we on this planet? Right? This is so going into the boundaries because once you know that, you can really set like identity parameters around that, right? And so like for me, it comes down to and I've noticed this about myself and my clients, your passions.
Yeah,
Like what are you really passionate about, right? I've always been someone that's passionate about like spirituality and mental health, creativity, etc. Right?
yeah,
What are
yeah,
your passions? Second, what are your gifts? Now I'm
yeah,
talking about like what are the spiritual gifts? You mentioned you came here with a briefcase, right? Like that's what that's kind of what I'm talking about with spiritual gifts. For me, like I can see people's potential almost like that. Once we start talking, I can hear within just like a couple of words like what they're meant to do here. Like obviously they get to subscribe
yeah,
to that and they get to form that, right? But like I just had a conversation with a client yesterday and he was talking about like how he wants to coach businesses in their ability to retain not just clients but also like their culture and their people that work with them, right?
yeah,
And so I like caught like this beautiful vision. And that's what I get to do. Like once they start
yeah,
talking about like what they want, I catch this gorgeous vision and I share it with them and like it makes things so much clearer for them.
yeah, yeah,
Right? So that's a spiritual gift that comes with me. The third one is our talents.
yeah,
Like I love to draw, I love to dance, I love to sing. My voice actually has abilities to draw people in. I know this, right?
yeah,
These are talents.
yeah,
But the last one is what you were just saying is your traumas, the
yeah,
crap, the
yeah.
crap. If I hadn't experienced what I experienced, I wouldn't understand my clients so well.
Absolutely. I grew up with lots of drama and trauma and there's pretty much nothing you can name from, incest to rape to everything in between that I haven't experienced.
Oh, I'm
And I feel blessed because I had the mother I had who was borderline personality disorder and very challenging, 5 marriages and 5 divorces and so forth. But because it created in me a greater capacity.
yeah,
There is very little I can't relate to in the world except love and deal with. There's such I have so much more resilience than many people I know, and it's really because there's a line in I think it's in the prophet that sorrow carves a deeper well for joy to fill. And I believe that that's the truth of my past is it creates
yeah,
beautiful capacity for who I am and have become. But
yeah, I
I
agree.
think our why, so that whole lifetime of drama and trauma and essentially growing up with a lot of no's. Like, I wanted the book Heidi and when I was very young begged and begged. And finally, my mom turned around and yelled one day, "No, we can't afford it." And I was really shocked, Aaron, not by what she said. I heard that a lot, but by the look on her face. I was 5. And I remember thinking and deciding at that age that I never wanted to see that look on another person's face, especially another woman's, a look of shame and despair and anger and frustration.
Oh,
Have to
yeah.
say no. No to something as simple as giving your child a
A
book.
$5 book.
Yeah, well, probably was $1 back then. And
Right.
so I'm old. And
It's
so
okay.
I wanted to say, I decided at that point that it was about creating yes lives for me and other people. And a key to that was, so my purpose is that I want you to get that you matter and live like you do
Yeah.
because I always wanted to matter. I wanted to be put ahead of the addictions and the men and the, booze and et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to matter. I wanted to get on the list, not even the top of the list, just on the damn list. And so that longing, that deep existential longing to matter, to be put first, is something that I see and recognize in other people.
Yeah.
I want them to get, I want you to get that you matter in a specific way and in a bunch of ways and to live like you do because there's a difference between navel gazing and going yes, I matter, and actually being the difference that you're meant to be. And that's where I think knowing your why really comes in, is because
Mm,
then you can apply it in so many ways. It gets you out of bed in the morning. You can use it to differentiate yourself in the marketplace or the workplace because people buy why you do what you do, not what
yes.
you do. That's
Yeah.
a quote from my friend of the mine, Simon Sinek. But people don't, they want to resonate with you. They want to know that you get them and that you understand where they're at and you can help them get to where they want to go. That's essentially what people buy. And they want to know they that you are like them and
Yeah.
that your why corresponds with who they are and what matters to
Yeah,
them.
they align with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it helps you differentiate. It helps you clarify your messaging. It helps you clarify your positioning. It helps you make strategic decisions. Does this take me closer to being who I want to be or further away? Does
Mm,
working with this person make me feel more on track with who I want to be, or does it take me further away? Does it diminish me? It helps you set boundaries. It helps you
mm.
figure out what matters to me. What am I going to be a stand for? And what
Yes.
am I going to be a stand against?
Yes.
And so I am a fierce stand against the BS story of not enough
Mm,
because
same
that
here.
is the opposite of I matter.
That's the opposite of truth.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it helps us really clarify where we put our stick in the sand, and then we can take that and turn that into how we apply it through our purpose, our passions, like you said, our pleasure, what brings us pleasure. We can profit from it, both for ourselves and other people. Uh,
Hmm.
there's a lot that it does beyond just, kind of a nice to have. I think it's a real foundation for us to build on and build from. And I think it's important at any age. But I'm working with a lot of people who are going through the whole, okay, who am I now? And now what? And our society says you're over a certain age, therefore you're no longer valuable and you're irrelevant. And so they literally dismiss us, and often we're literally invisible. And frankly, when I encountered that personally, when it impinged on me personally, it annoyed me and pissed me off so much that I decided, okay, I've been the subject of sexism and sizeism. I'm not dealing with the thirdism in the form of ageism. That's got to go. And so it's about, like you said, boundaries are when we have had enough of something and someone has crossed into what is our our space, our sovereignty. And that was what made me decide to create the Maturepreneur world, was because it's not okay to dismiss 25% of the population and be in a world that is happy and healthy and balanced. Like we just, and 25% of the population in terms of this, and then we dismiss a whole bunch of the population based on race and based on sex and based on, like we need to knock that off because we
Well,
cannot come together. if we've got all of these separations.
So I'm gonna actually, I love this because I'm gonna push against the boundary
Yeah.
concept for just a second. Like, because I also, and I've taught this on this podcast a lot. Like, boundaries are not like what you set between you and another person. They're 100% about who you choose to be.
Hmm.
Right. And so when you're talking about like that ageism and then that was pushing against you, right?
Yeah.
Like you're, you know how valuable you are.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know it, right? And so really more or less what was happening there was they were pushing against your identity and your self-worth and you stood in it.
Yeah.
That's what creates that unbreakable boundary. And so when we stand, it does create like what people would necessarily say is a boundary,
Yeah.
right? Like that interaction between us and another person.
Yeah.
But in reality, you stood for the boundary and the result of that happened. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
you were, yeah,
Absolutely.
I love just that very, you know, example shows like how boundaries work,
Well,
right?
so then my question for you is, can we have, what would you call it when it's boundaries for other people, meaning that no, it's not okay to dismiss people based on age or race or gender or whatever, whatever. Because then what we're doing is we're saying this system or this infraction or this mm, breach is not okay. Now,
Hmm.
it for sure, I totally rebelled because it's like, oh no, you do not get to dismiss
Nope,
me.
nope, nope.
Like,
Right.
no, yeah.
Yeah, and
And
you should.
yeah, and absolutely it starts there. But then it's also I'm a pretty fierce stand for, and you don't get to dismiss them either, right?
Right,
And
right.
so what do you call that? If that's not a boundary, what do you call it?
So that's not a boundary.
So what
That
do you
actually is not a boundary. And I don't like I will say it's not about boundaries with other people or putting boundaries on other people, right? Because boundaries, if you put them on other people, you cannot control that.
yeah.
A boundary should stay in your control. And that's
So
what creates them as unbreakable. But how you define the boundary is how you also define what happens next when somebody pushes against the boundary. Does that make sense? And so with you, it was like, okay, I no, you do not get to dismiss me. I am somebody who is important. My voice matters. I am smart. Like I have faith in myself and it doesn't matter that you don't, but if I don't stand for me in this moment, then I am actually giving voice to you, what you think more than the truth.
yeah.
And so that's being in respect, right?
Okay. So
That's you
then
living inside of your values no matter what somebody else does.
right. Okay. So then what I'm hearing is what you would call it is if it's for me standing in my own value, etc., I'm setting a boundary. When it's out there, I am taking a stand. It's
Hmm.
not a boundary, it's taking a stand.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
definition works for me. And I think so I just before we kind of wrap, I want to give people a couple little tips on ways to
Yeah.
what your why is, because it's a big topic and there's a lot of kind of we get told that our why is our job. We get told that our why is, you know, just purely following our passion or whatever. But here's a few things that you can do to start to get some insight about what might be at the core for you. So, one, I'm going to teleport you a magic wand. I want you to wave it, and you can change one thing about you, other people, or yourself. What would that be? So write it down. You can change one thing about you, other people, or the world. What would that be? That's so write it down. Then the next exercise is what do you rant about on your soapbox? And if you think I don't rant on a soapbox, then just go ask your family, honey, because you guarantee
You
you
do.
if you go and ask your friends and family, they'll say, "Oh yeah, you're always on about this." Okay, so write down what you rant about because we all have that. Then the next thing is, what do you stand for or against? You might be clearer about that. That might be another way to kind of access the rant. Write that down and why those matter to you. And frankly, what's like my rant? My rant is, it started off with, I get really annoyed with people who leave their cart in the middle of the aisle in Safeway in the grocery store. Well, Why? Because that's pretty arbitrary. Well, because they don't consider anyone else. They're just the center of the universe. They don't care that they're impacting other people negatively, that they're in the way and they're causing problems and so forth. Well, okay, why is that a problem? Well, people who don't care about other people then can be inadvertently quite harmful. So then I'm starting to get closer to the truth. So you just dig down below
Yeah,
that.
yes, I love this process.
People
Yes.
don't, and what it comes down to is if they don't care about me, that's really the bottom line. They don't care about me, and that pokes my not enough button. That pokes my you don't matter button. So what it comes down to is my why, my purpose of I want you to get that you matter is because I want to matter. And
Mm-hmm.
when they don't care about me, then that pokes that, right? So if you dig down, you start to get at what the end of the thread is. So, and I also encourage you to take a look at some significant events that happened when you were little, as early as you can remember, often difficult, traumatic, etc. And write it down, just point form, what was it? What was the story that that little boy or little girl made up about themselves, other people, or the world? The world's not safe, men are bad, I'm not enough, I'm stupid. What
Mm-hmm.
is the story that that little kid, not the adult looking back now and sanitizing it, but that little kid, what was the story they made up? Because you can see it, like the wake behind a
Yes, all the way through.
played out through your life, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
what was the story they made up? Then the next step in that little process is what is the new story you're going to tell instead? The adult who loves that child looking back, what's a different story that you could tell about that? And come up with a bunch of different stories and then pick a more empowering story because the bottom line is we're making it all up anyways. We might as well make up a more empowering story. So,
Absolutely.
forget what that little story was. What's the story now? And then sit back after you've written those out all out, sit back, leave it for a few days, come back, read it as if this is a stranger. See if you can see the thread that weaves throughout. See if you can see what's the end of the thread in each of those things, or the common theme, or the what does this person really care about? What moves this person? What's the window they see the world through? Just read it objectively and be curious about this human being. That's going to get you closer to your why. It's often easier to do in the listening of someone else, especially someone who's trained to listen for longing, to listen for who you are, and
Mm,
so on. But which is why it's great to have coaches who have that ability. Not everyone does because we can't see it. It's right
yeah.
at the end of our nose and we can't see it. We're too close. So it helps to have someone pull it back. These exercises are a way for you to just kind of pull back a little bit from yourself, take a look, be curious about this human being. What do they really care about? What's the difference that they want to be in the world? And that's going to give you a big clue about your why.
Yeah.
Then
Agreed.
get some support with, okay, how do I live into that? How do I make it part of my business? How do I be in service to that in the world? How do I use that to fuel my pleasure and my passions and make my life juicy? That's why is not something you figure out and put on the shelf. It's something that creates the quality and the juiciness of our life. So
I love it. And you're right. You're
that's
absolutely
what
right.
matters. And that's why I'm passionate about making sure that people of all ages know that they have a why that matters because they matter.
Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And when you know that you matter,
Yeah.
that's when you can start seeing how other people matter. And all of a sudden now we have some juice happening. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, we're gonna ask Jeanette to come back because there's a couple things that I do want to talk more about, like that container and like expanding our container and expanding our horizons within this why, and going back and forth and like really defining the boundary side of this because it sounds like you and I are pretty on the same
Yeah.
page with that. Just clarifying both of us a little bit
Yeah. Yeah.
between each other, right?
Yeah.
So juicy content. We're gonna have Jeanette back. Let me know, guys. Also, and you guys are welcome to message the show if you have questions for Jeanette or I, and you would like us to address them in the next podcast episode. Let us know. And in the meantime, I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right, Boundary Boss Babes. I'm super excited that you tuned in with me today. Make sure you tune in again next week as we chat about more Boundary Boss Babe topics. We're going to get into so many other things about how to set boundaries with your business, how to set boundaries with your relationships, so you can truly have the time, the money, and the flexibility that you are seeking. So tune in next week. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Let your other Boss Babe friends know about it. And also, if you've got any questions, make sure you submit them into the podcast by clicking on the send us a text message at the bottom of the podcast description. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. See you later, Boss Babes.